WrestleMania is far and away the biggest professional wrestling show on this planet. And with it being the biggest professional wrestling show, it stands to reason that we should expect the biggest possible matches. Now, typically these big marquee matches are for championship gold. Whether it's a world title match in the main event of WrestleMania, or a multi-person ladder match for a mid-card title, or maybe you're going after the world tag titles. Either way, those are typically the matches that get the most shine as you lead into WrestleMania. But they aren't always necessarily the most remembered, because sometimes it is a non-title match that just happens to steal the show and happens to be the match that people talk about for generations. So today we're going to be looking at what I think are the best non-title matches at every WrestleMania ever since I started watching wrestling. So that would be in 2002 WrestleMania 18 all the way through to WrestleMania 39. And I'm going to pick these matches based on personal preference and personal bias, but also the general collective thought of the community about what they think about those matches. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I'm telling you, you already found the best channel possible, so make sure you subscribe. And if you happen to be a new wrestling fan, I think you're really gonna like this channel because we upload daily wrestling content and I'm gonna help you get up to date with all of the wrestling storylines. But all right, that's enough. Let's jump into it. So we're starting off with 2002, and that puts us at WrestleMania 18. Now, I wasn't there to watch WrestleMania 19 live, present, and in the moment because we couldn't afford pay-per-views. Believe it or not, there were no streaming services back in 2002. You had to call your cable provider to be able to purchase an event like this, and we just couldn't afford $60 for 2 hours or 3 hours of professional wrestling. It just was never going to happen. So I had to wait a couple of months for WrestleMania 18 to be released on VHS, if you can believe that, and I had to go rent it from my local library. But either way, I got to experience Icon versus Icon, The Rock versus Hollywood Hulk Hogan. Not only was this the best non-title match on this card, but I think it was the best match on this entire WrestleMania card and one of the greatest, most important WrestleMania matches of all time, period. Now, this might not necessarily be the match that really gets the serotonin going, especially if you like flips or really crazy moves or extreme wrestling. This is really all about the characters and all about the crowd, but it is an awesome wrestling match. It is one of my favorite matches of all time, and it's one that I consistently go back to and watch on a regular basis. 2003 gave us one of the greatest WrestleManias of all time, in my opinion, WrestleMania 19. Now, to me, this was close between two matches. I almost picked the third match in the trilogy of Stone Cold versus The Rock. However, I ultimately ended up going with the one that I think had the better storyline going into the match, but also was just the better match in the ring, and that is Chris Jericho taking on Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels being Chris Jericho's hero, the guy that Chris Jericho was trying to emulate, and the guy that now Chris Jericho was trying to put down. This is Shawn Michaels at his best. In my opinion, this is Chris Jericho's best match that I've ever seen him work personally. So yeah, this is just two great workers putting on a fantastic match trying to steal the show. And when Shawn Michaels is trying to steal the show, more often than not, he's going to. 2004 puts us in Madison Square Garden for the 20th WrestleMania, where I think that the best non-title match was, hell, look, Chris Jericho one more time. He used to put on some absolutely fantastic matches. Chris Jericho versus Christian, just two really great workers that weren't in any title pictures being put together through a pretty decent storyline of two guys that were best friends, and there's a girl in the middle. That girl happened to be Trish Stratus, and yeah, these guys just put on a really great wrestling match. Sure, it's not one that's going to be remembered through the annals of history, but it's a good one. 2005 gave us WrestleMania 21, and arguably the greatest match I've ever seen. I don't know why it's not talked about anywhere near as much as it should be. It always comes down to Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. Homies, did we forget about the incredible Kurt Angle versus Shawn Michaels that I dare say might be just as good, and in some cases, depending on how my mood is, I like it better than Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker. This is a perfect professional wrestling match. There is no titles here. It's all about who is the better man, who is the true best performer in the WWE. Shawn Michaels is trying to demonstrate to the world that he's still Mr. WrestleMania, and Kurt Angle is trying to show the world that he is better than Mr. WrestleMania. This is Perk Angle at his finest, by the way. This is some amazing, amazing high thrilling action. It's a combination of grappling. It's got some high flying maneuvers. It's got some table action in there as well. This match is absolutely fantastic. It is perfect and one of my favorite WrestleMania matches of all time. 2006 gave us WrestleMania 22, where admittedly most of the marquee matches had some sort of title involved. I could have gone with the Money in the Bank ladder match here, but I kind of feel like that counts as a title match, even though obviously it's a briefcase, but you understand the sentiment that I'm trying to portray here. But I'm going to give this to the Mick Foley versus Edge street fight. This thing was brutal. This is not something that is typically on a WrestleMania floor, especially today. Like this type of brutality, this type of violence, the type of weapons that were involved here. We had barbed wire bats, we had barbed wire chest plates, we had a burning table, we had Lita taking some nasty moves, we had the awesome spear through the table. This is just ECW in a giant stage like WrestleMania. I'm never gonna forget this match. This is one of my favorite WrestleMania matches of all time, even if it's just a beautiful car wreck. Folks, you want more wrestling content? Because the new episode of Wrestling is Cool is already available on Patreon, patreon.com/SantiZap, where you're gonna get the Wrestling is Cool podcast 3 days early, Raw reviews, SmackDown reviews, you're gonna get Wrestling is Cool gaming and more. It's just extra content in case the daily videos here just aren't enough. And if you want to be able to support me as a full-time content creator to keep that light on and keep this mic on, I'd appreciate it. Just go check it out, patreon.com/SantiZap. Look, I gotta do these sellouts every now and then, all right? Don't hate the play, I hate the game. Back to the video. 2007 gave us WrestleMania 23, and really all of the good matches in this WrestleMania had some sort of title attached to it. Even the Money in the Bank ladder match was good, but I'm kind of counting that as a title match, as I've already stated. So I guess I'll go with the Battle of the Billionaires, Umaga versus Bobby Lashley, with Bobby Lashley being aligned with Donald Trump, Umaga being aligned with Vince McMahon, where the loser gets to have his head shaved by the winner. Look, it's just craziness to have a former president and a current presidential candidate as of the making of this be part of a marquee WrestleMania moment like this. Yeah, this is more about the moment than it was about the match, but look, like I said, all of the best matches had some sort of title implication. 2008 is WrestleMania 24, and this was an easy one. Once again, wouldn't you know it, Shawn Michaels is back on this list. It is the career-threatening match between Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels, where if Ric Flair lost, he would retire from professional wrestling for the first time. He would go on to have like 30 more retirement matches, but we didn't know that back then. It was emotional at the moment, all right? You just have to trust me, especially if you weren't there. This match is fantastic. This is the best match that I've ever seen Ric Flair work, considering I got into wrestling when Ric Flair was already on the older side of things and not working these awesome, NWA matches that he's, renowned for, because I didn't get to experience those. So to me, this was Ric Flair at his absolute best. But more than anything, this is about the story, the sympathetic plot of the old timer still trying to show that he's still got the chops to be able to go at full speed. And Shawn Michaels, somebody that in storyline idolized Ric Flair, being the one who unfortunately has to put down old Yeller and end his career. It was beautiful, and it gave us one of the most quotable moments in professional wrestling history. The "I'm sorry, I love you" super kick. God, man, wrestling is a movie, I swear. 2009, okay, this is not going to take very long. WrestleMania 25, we already know it's this one, Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels, revered as arguably one of the greatest WrestleMania matches of all time, one of the greatest matches of all time. And to say that it could be the best match of either one of these guys' illustrious career is saying a lot, because both of these guys have just a myriad of 5-star absolute classics. And this just happens to be one of the best for each one of them. This is just such a treat. And it's not necessarily that it came out of nowhere. It's just the fact that WWE didn't have the foresight to know that this was going to be amazing and just put this on the main event is what's baffling to me. This match is amazing. And you know what? I'm going to keep this train going, because WrestleMania in 2010, WrestleMania 26, it's also this one. It's also a great match, career versus streak, similar to WrestleMania 24. We have the illustrious career of Shawn Michaels on the line. And at this point, the streak is just as important as a title, but it's not a title match, so, I'm still counting it in this non-title sequence of matches. This is an amazing match. I think for some reason people have this a couple of notches down below 25. I think it's just as good, in my opinion. It's just that I think maybe people scored a bit lower because we had already seen it before. But I still think that in a vacuum, both of these matches separate, we don't know about the other one. They're both incredible, perfect professional wrestling matches. 2011 gave us the rough WrestleMania 27, but there was a non-title gem, the best match of this entire card, the no-holds-barred match between Triple H and The Undertaker. This is such an incredible match. To me, at that moment in time, was one of my favorite WrestleMania matches. Funnily enough, they would go on to top this match. But yeah, this is far and away the best match in this entire WrestleMania. And it also told a great story at the end of the match, as the only person that was actually able to walk away with like their own 2 feet on their own power was the loser Triple H, helping us set up the narrative for next year's WrestleMania. This match, it doesn't get talked about enough. I think it's because it gets smack dab between 2 iconic Undertaker matches, WrestleMania 26 and WrestleMania 28, but this is up there with one of Undertaker's best matches of the entire streak. 2012 gave us once in a lifetime WrestleMania 28, and you'd think that I'd have the John Cena versus The Rock match here because that was a non-title match, and although that was far and away the biggest marquee match that WWE arguably had ever put on. I mean, you had John Cena, biggest name in professional wrestling, and The Rock, a former big name in professional wrestling and the biggest name in all of Hollywood. But this might be a little bit biased. Look, Hell in a Cell, end of an era, Triple H versus The Undertaker with Shawn Michaels as the special guest referee, to me is my favorite WrestleMania match of all time. And especially like if you look at this from like an eagle's eye view, this is actually the culmination of like a 5-year storyline that started all the way when Shawn Michaels was trying to eliminate The Undertaker at that Royal Rumble, where Undertaker ended up winning the Royal Rumble heading into WrestleMania 23. Like this is just the culmination of a really long storyline with really good matches and the culmination of the Attitude Era. This was the end of it. This was the last 2 bastions of the Attitude Era that were capable of having serviceable wrestling matches. And not only did they have a serviceable wrestling match, they had a fucking banger of a Hell in a Cell match. So good that the cell itself, when it was coming down, got its own entrance theme. Look, this is my favorite wrestling match. I implore you to go give this a watch. It's got one of the greatest kickouts in professional wrestling, the sweet chin music into a pedigree, and Undertaker kicks out. And this is drama at its finest. The kids these days, they say cinema. They say the bloodline is cinema. No. This is Scorsese, okay? This is IMAX. 2013 is WrestleMania. I'm starting to lose track of the numbers. 29? Yeah, WrestleMania 29 from New Jersey, New York. And we're going to stick with The Undertaker here. We're going with The Undertaker, CM Punk. Arguably The Undertaker's best streak match, but people just don't talk about it enough. And I think it's because no one thought that CM Punk had any ounce of winning. But from just like an objective wrestling match, it might have been better than the Shawn Michaels one. It might have been better than the Triple H ones. This match is fucking phenomenal, but it just doesn't get the love that the other great Taker matches that happened in years prior, it tends to get. This match is amazing and far and away, to me, the best non-title match at this year's WrestleMania. 2014 gave us WrestleMania 30. Is this cheating? Daniel Bryan versus Triple H, because this was part of like a bigger plot where the winner would then go into the championship match for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. No, I don't think it's cheating. I don't think that it is. There was no title on the line. There were title implications, but hell, this is, to me, maybe the greatest opening match in WrestleMania history. These guys had perfect, impeccable chemistry. But then on top of that, even though there was no championship at play, it still felt like it had the championship stakes that make championship matches so special. I think this is the best opening match in WrestleMania history. Daniel Bryan looked fantastic. Triple H sold his ass off for Daniel Bryan in terms of like the in-ring narrative. I thought it was awesome, with especially the injury angle that they played towards the end. To me, this match is just so good, but it gets kind of overshadowed by the main event. But to me, I always kind of include this as part of the whole main event package. 2015, WrestleMania 31. All of the best matches, and there were some good ones, in my opinion, were the ones that were for the titles. I could have gone maybe Randy Orton versus Seth Rollins, but to me, that was an okay match that just had a really awesome, memorable ending. But to me, honestly, I just kind of love the car crash that was Triple H versus Sting. Yeah, it was just two old dudes in there trying to have a professional wrestling match, but it was a pretty good wrestling match. But then I love how overbooked and over the top this was with the NWO getting involved. You had DX get involved. You had Shawn Michaels sneaking in and delivering a sweet chin music to Sting. It just felt like you were playing universe mode in a WWE video game. Like, it was just fantasy booking. It didn't seem real. So I'll go with this, although I could understand the argument for others as well. 2016 WrestleMania 32, the cursed WrestleMania where everyone seemed to be injured. I'm going to go with Chris Jericho, AJ Styles, even though I don't think this match is that particularly good. Most of the best options, like the women's match, that's probably the best match on the show, but that has a title involved. There weren't too many non-title options to go with. So I guess I could have maybe gone with Undertaker versus Shane McMahon. I could have gone with that, but this is better. 2017 gave us WrestleMania 33, and I think that the best match on here is like far and away the most shockingly good match that had no business being this good. It happened to be right at the start of the show, Shane McMahon versus AJ Styles. I actually think this was the best match of this entire WrestleMania. I don't think that this WrestleMania was very good. The title matches weren't very good. The non-title matches weren't particularly great, but Shane McMahon versus AJ Styles put a comically good match. I say comically and I laugh about it because I just didn't think that this had any business being anywhere near as good as it ended up being. Shout out to Shane McMahon. This man cooked up with AJ Styles. 2018 didn't really give me too many options with WrestleMania 34. However, this match was actually kind of hype, but revisionists will tell you that it sucked simply because it has Ronda Rousey, but we liked Ronda Rousey back then. You have to remember, it is the mixed tag match between Ronda Rousey and Kurt Angle, which allegedly was supposed to be The Rock originally, taking on the power couple that is Shane and not Shane and Stephanie. They are not a couple. Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. This match was actually pretty hype. We had Kurt Angle, who everybody kind of universally loves. We had both Stephanie and Triple H selling their ass off for Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey still had this badass aura around her. She was still like a brand new hot commodity that WWE fans were excited and clamored to see. 2019 WrestleMania 35, you know, that one that was like 73 hours long? How the hell does Shane McMahon keep getting on this list? The Miz versus Shane McMahon Falls Count Anywhere match, I actually think has an argument for being the best match on this entire card. It was a better no disqualification Falls Count Anywhere type match than the one that got like 40 minutes, Triple H versus Batista. And it also gave us this awesome picture of the Miz's dad trying to square up to Shane McMahon. This was awesome. 2020 was the Pandemomania in front of no one. I think some people here would go with maybe Randy Orton versus Edge in that like hour-long last man standing match. I didn't like that match. I thought it was really slow, really boring, and just far too long, and it really needed a crowd. You know what didn't need a crowd? These two matches, the Boneyard match between The Undertaker and AJ Styles and the Firefly Funhouse match between John Cena and The Fiend. I'm just going to give it to both of these two. This is the only tie on this entire list. But yeah, in a time where WWE was forced to be as creative as they possibly could in order to be able to put on a show like WrestleMania, in a time when everything was closed down, the world was flipped upside down, we didn't know what was happening tomorrow really. This was a nice moment of creativity from the WWE to really, I guess, lift the spirits and help us jump into a different world, because it was ominous seeing people wrestle in an empty arena, and these two matches completely took us out of that into a different world altogether, and I really feel like we needed that at that time. 2021 saw the return of fans with WrestleMania 37, and in my opinion, most of the good matches, and most of the matches actually, if you go look on this card, are matches for some title in some capacity. But I guess I'll go with Cesaro versus Seth frickin' Rollins. Was he going by freaking back then? No, because he was the Messiah. I don't think he had quite adopted the frickin' moniker yet. This match was okay. Like, it was a good showcase of wrestling, but it didn't feel like a WrestleMania bout. It was kind of cool to have Cesaro win, the guy that never really got his moment in the WWE. Getting to beat somebody that was at the top of the mountain in the WWE was a pretty cool tale to tell, but this isn't the match, or really any of the non-title matches at this WrestleMania aren't any matches that we're, still talking about even a couple of years later. 2022 WrestleMania 38 ended up going to Seth freaking Rollins against an opponent of Mr. McMahon's choosing, and it ended up being Cody Rhodes, and it gave us a fantastic match, the first of the great trilogy that was Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins. It was the best match. It was the best surprise and biggest surprise of the entire show, and looking back on it, this is going to be a very historic moment in WWE lore, because it's when Cody Rhodes returned back to the WWE, and Cody Rhodes is the biggest name in the WWE these days, and he's probably going to be the biggest name and the face of the WWE for the foreseeable future, and this is where it kind of began. 2023 WrestleMania 39, I'll tell you, the best matches of the show were all title matches. However, there's this beautiful little gem that a lot of people seem to forget about that was just a fantastic. Look, I could have gone with the tag team showcase match. That was fantastic, but I'm gonna go with Seth Rollins versus Logan Paul. These two guys just absolutely torched the house down with one of the best matches of the entire show that spanned across 2 nights. This is one of my favorite matches of this entire WrestleMania card. Highly underrated, not talked about enough, and to me, this was the match that told the world Logan Paul, he's not a sideshow. He's here to be a great professional wrestler. He is here to be a WWE superstar, not just some, special attraction that's here every now and then. And now, as of the making of this video, he's more or less a full-time performer. And I kind of just harken back to this match as the moment that had a lot of fans that were doubtful just sort of embrace and accept Logan Paul into this business. And it gave us the great KSI face reveal while he was wearing the Prime bottle. This was amazing. All right, folks, those are my picks. Let me know what you think I got wrong. Maybe let me know what you think I got right that you weren't expecting that I was going to get right. Let me know in the comments down below. Be civil down there, but that's it. I'm done. Get out of here.